Hey guys, last section for today, or tomorrow rather. We're looking at section 21, which is trinomials with leading coefficient equal to 1. So hopefully you recognize with all these problems, you'll see that we have a trinomial, three terms, leading coefficient 1, leading coefficient 1. Trinomial, three terms, leading coefficient 1, leading coefficient 1. Trinomial, leading coefficient 1, trinomial, but leading coefficient not 1, which means something else is probably going on behind the scenes here. Trinomial, but again, leading coefficients are not 1. So we probably have to be careful with those. I wonder which ones are going to be on the test. Hint, hint, cough, cough. So we again go back to our friendly factoring robot. The first thing you always have to worry about is there a GCF? If there is a GCF, you find it or you factor it out. If there's no GCF, then you move on. You ask yourself how many terms we have. And because the section name is trinomials with leading blah, 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 trinomial means you're going to have problems with 3 terms. So we're going to stay in this range the entire time for this section. The first thing we always should be figuring out is if these two formulas can be used, because if you can, you're done in 15 seconds. If those two formulas cannot be used, then you ask yourself, is your leading coefficient 1? If the leading coefficient is 1, then you do the AC method, which is what we'll be doing in this section. If the leading coefficient is not 1, then we use something called split the middle, which we'll talk about in section 22. That's for next week. So coming back here, let's analyze this problem. First, we look at the GCF. Well, one of the coefficients is 1. So from the numbers point of view, I can't factor a number out. This doesn't have an X, so I can't factor an X out, so there's no GCF. Next, we look at how many terms. Well, I got 3 terms. Could any of the formulas work? And hopefully you remember from the last section, with formulas, the first thing you want to look at is the signs. The signs have to either be all positive, or it has to be plus, minus, plus. It has to be one of those two. Let's go back to the robot. Plus, 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 or plus, minus, plus. If those signs don't even match up, the rest of the terms don't even matter. The formula cannot apply unless the signs match up first. So this is all nonsense. It's gone. Now here you can see it's not all positive and it's not plus, minus, plus. So the formulas are out. And then you ask yourself, is the leading coefficient 1? Sure is, which means now we come down the drain to the AC method. The AC method, hopefully you remember, is you multiply A and C. So A is 1, C is negative 30. And then you find factors of A times C, starting at 1. So 1 times negative 30. And then remember that you always account for the negatives right away, otherwise you're going to forget them later. So if 1 and negative 30, negative 1 and 30 as well. Then we tried 2. Does 2 go into negative 30? Sure does. Negative 15, but also negative 2 and 15. Then we go up to 3. 3 works as well. 3 times negative 10, negative 3 times 10. 4 is not a factor of 30. 5 is a factor of 30. So 5 times negative 6. Negative 5 times 6. And then after 5 is 6, and hopefully you remember from the lecture video, once the number that you count up to is in the list, or once the numbers repeat, you're done. There are no other factors to consider. And now we have found factors of AC, hence the name AC method. We're looking for numbers, a pair of numbers that adds up to positive 1, which is B. So we need the product AC, the factors to add up to B, which is, in this case, positive 1. So 1 minus 30 is negative 29. That doesn't work. Negative 1 plus 30 is 29. That doesn't work. 2 minus 15 is negative 13. That doesn't work. Negative 2 plus 15 is positive 13. That doesn't work. This is negative 7. This is positive 7. This is negative 1. Close, but not exactly. And then finally, we get negative 5 plus 6 is 1. With the AC method, we can jump directly to our answer. The answer will be x minus 5, x plus 6. That's it. Where do the -5 and the 6 come from? They come from right here. Looking at number 3, there is no GCF because 16 doesn't have an X in it, and this has a coefficient of 1. So there's no GCF to every single term in the problem, so I move past it. Then we look at how many terms. We have 3 terms. Do we have either plus 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 or plus minus plus? We sure do. So we can try to see if this works with a formula. The formula that could potentially work is the one that goes a minus b, the quantity squared, equals a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So now we say, okay, what is the square root of x squared? Well, it's x. The sign in the problem is a minus, so I put a minus there. Square root of 16 is 4. Now, if this works, fantastic. If it doesn't work, then we got to move on to the next question. We always have to verify if the middle term matches up. So x times 4 is 4x, and if we double that, we get 8x. We don't have that. So the formula does not apply. This is why it's crucial that you always check the middle term. If you just look at the first term and the last term, you might get seduced into thinking that the formula works when it actually doesn't. So in this case, it's still worthwhile just doing the formula check, because if it works, you're done in 2 seconds. If it doesn't work, great. You didn't spend a huge amount of time. So then we've tried the formulas. This one didn't work. We come down. Is the leading coefficient 1? Yes. Okay, do the AC method. Is the leading coefficient 1 here? Sure is. So the AC method means we multiply 1 or A and C, which is 1 and 16. Then we find factors of 16. So we start at 1 times 16. We account for the negatives at the same time, -1 times -16. Then 2 goes into 16 8 times, -2, -8. 3 is not a factor of 16, 4 works, so 4 times 4, -4 times -4. And hopefully you remember here we said, hey, after 5 we got to 6, but 6 is already on my list, so no more factors. Here, hopefully you see that the numbers repeat. That's how we know that that there are no other factors to even consider. This is all of them. There are no other factors that possibly could even work. Now, do any of these add up to b, which is -10? If you think about it for a moment, these two pairs of, or that pair of numbers actually adds up to -10 exactly. -2 minus 8 is -10. So we know directly x minus 2, x minus 8 will be our answer. Done. These two are the same and 5 is the same. So I'm going to concentrate on 2 new types of problems where maybe you don't see the AC method right away. In these questions, again, we go from the very beginning. Is there a GCF for number 7? Actually, yeah, there is. 4 can be factored out from 16 and 180. So we're going to factor out a 4 for sure. And then you can see that this term has x squared, x cubed, x to the 4th. The lowest power is 2. So we can actually factor out an x squared also. So this is me factoring out the GCF, which is the first thing we should be doing with every single problem. So if you factor out a 4x squared, we divide each of the terms by the GCF. 4x to the 4th divided by 4x squared will give us x squared. -16x to the 3rd divided by 4x squared will give us -4x. -180 x squared divided by 4x squared will give us -45. Yeah. And now we say, okay, we factored out the GCF. Now, how many terms do we have left over? Well, I have 3 terms. That's my trinomial right there. So with 3 terms, we look at, hey, could I use one of these 2 formulas? First, do the signs match? No, because we either needed plus, 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 or we needed plus, minus, plus. This sign prevents the formulas from working. So again, this should be a half-second thought that, hey, can I use the formulas? Do the signs even match? No, move on from the formulas. You don't have to consider them. So this is done. And we say, okay, if the formulas don't apply, is the leading coefficient 1? At the beginning, the answer was no, but is it one now? Yes. So this is why we can apply the AC method on just this part, but we could not use it on this. That would not be permitted. So now the AC method says we multiply A and C. A is 1, C is negative 45. So we have to find factors of negative 45. Start at 1. Account for the negatives right away. And then we look at 2. 2 is not going to go into 45. It's an odd number. 3, yeah, 3 works. 3 and negative 15, negative 3 and 15. 4 is not going to work because, again, 45 is an odd number. 5, yeah, 5 works. 5 times negative 9, negative 5 times 9. 6 is not going to work. 7 is not going to work. 8 is not going to work. 9 is already in my list. So then I know that this list is complete. There are no other factors of negative 45 that exist. And we're looking to see which one of these, if any, add up to negative 4. Well, the second to last actually works. 5 minus 9 is negative 4. So I know that my answer will be 4x squared x plus 5 times x minus 9. And again, just to verify, 5 times negative 9 is negative 45. That's what we wanted. 5 minus 9 is negative 4. That's what we wanted as well. So with 8, 6, 9, 10, 11, all of these problems are the same. Factor out the GCF first, then start asking yourself, well, how many terms do we have? Well, it's a trinomial section, so all the problems will have 2 terms. Is the leading coefficient 1? And again, because I want you to practice leading coefficient 1 in this section, once you factor out the GCF, that will always be the case. In the next section, in 22, the leading coefficient will not be 1. And that's where you will be talking about split the middle. Hopefully that makes sense. And that's it for this set of videos.